Greg.
And I'm Billy.
And we're the Fuji Guys. Today's video is our first look on our new high-end compact camera, the new F750/770EXR model. Now, why 750/770? The 750 model is the basic model. The 770 is the same model, but with the GPS function. So we'll describe that a little bit more, but we're going to cover both models with one video here. So, as you may or may not know, our high-end cameras are very popular, F500, F550, F600. They're discontinued now, and this is basically the cameras replacing them. There's a lot of new innovations, both from a design perspective and a functionality perspective, that we'll cover off quickly in this EXR review.
Yeah, I really like the new look of this, camera.
Super new design. It's got a rubberized kind of finish on it now. The EXR Cmos sensor that we developed initially last year for a couple of our models, we've improved it. So it is a version 2 of this sensor, and it promises to improve in the areas of low noise at high ISO, as well as improving the details that you'll get in a high dynamic range situation.
Highlights,
so better highlight and shadow detail. Exactly. So much nicer looking camera. Now I'm going to tell you, it's maybe a couple millimeters thicker than the other camera, but really, literally, that's it.
It's hardly noticeable if you actually pick it up. The way it's designed, it really looks slim. In fact, to me, it almost looks slimmer than the camera.
Most of the body part is, but just from the tip of the lens, it's a little bit. But the astonishing thing about this is all of those previous models I mentioned, the 500, 550, and 600, they all had a 15 times zoom lens, which, you know, in our industry for that size of a camera was a real innovation for that lens. This is now a 20 times zoom lens.
Wow, so it's 24 millimeter wide, goes to 480 millimeters, and it's quite compact, of course, Greg.
So, you know, using the same double folding lens technology as we did before, we are able to put a very long zoom in a very compact body. So that's an exclusive for Fuji. Something that's new on this model, a couple of our other cameras are going to have it this year, is what we call intelligent digital zoom. Now, back in the day, if we were making these videos 10 years ago, we would talk about the digital zoom as something you shouldn't even use because it was very poor quality. The cameras were lower megapixels. But basically, the digital zoom on this camera, coupled with some fantastic new processing, allows you to take this 20 times optical zoom up to a 40 times, including the intelligent digital zoom. Which is
quite incredible.
It is very incredible.
Good watching.
And I would not even be telling you about this on this video if I hadn't, with my own eyes, seen the quality that it can produce. So this new processing that we put in this intelligent digital zoom feature is really incredible. I will start using it myself. And, you know, although, as we might say, a 20 times zoom, how much more powerful do you need? Well, there are situations, whether you're shooting a bird in a tree or, you know, a kid on a soccer field or whatever, you know, as much as it's harder to hand hold something like that at 40 times, if you have some good light, you can take fantastic pictures. I've seen the prints, I've seen it work, so otherwise I wouldn't be recommending it. Great feature.
Okay, Greg, so let's just take a look at the camera now, just quickly.
Sure.
The front of the camera, of course, on the F770 that I have here, which is the GPS-enabled model. Of course, you can see, as Greg mentioned earlier, with the rubberized grip to it, there's actually a little handle on that camera just sticking out a little bit, so it gives you a nice one-handed operation. You got the AF assist lamp as well that illuminates to help focusing during low light. Of course, you have that 20 times zoom lens. It's a 24 millimeter wide angle lens. Goes up to 480 millimeters, and then you can use the digital intelligent digital zoom and make it effective to be a 40 times. Of course, it's a Fujinon lens again. It's a 3.5 to 5.3 lens. And of course, as Greg mentioned, it's a newly developed BSI EXR Cmos sensor, and with a new processing chip as well. And then, of course, we talked about processors on these cameras. They do have sort of a triple core processor, one that deals with EXR, and two other cores that deals with the camera's operation for very fast, reduced shutter lag time, shot-to-shot time, and high-speed shooting modes as well. On the front of the camera, the flash does pop up, and if you see on the side of this camera, that's the manual pop-up release for the flash. And of course, you can just push it down to bring the flash down. On the opposite side of this camera, we have the little cover to access things like the HDMI connector on the camera, as well as the USB/AV output, so that you can download your images to your computer. Of course, we always recommend using a card reader. You got a little eyelet here to allow for the strap or the hand strap for this camera. If we take a look at the bottom of the camera, of course, you got the metal tripod mount. You got the speakers, and of course the battery covers that you slide open. And then, of course, it uses the MP50 battery, as well as accepts the SD, HC, and XC cards. And really the difference between those three is really the capacity, where an HC goes from 4 gigs to 32 gigs, and the XC cards go past 32 gigs. Because this camera offers full HD video, we always recommend at least a Class 6 rated card or higher, so that you don't have any issues with the camera being interrupted during video because the card is not fast enough to keep up with the camera's ability to write to that card. So that's just a quick look at the bottom of the camera. On the top of the camera here, you got the zoom controls to zoom in, zoom out, or your telephoto wide angle. Your on and off switch as well, which has a little LED in between, so it lights up. And if this is a GPS model, of course, you do have the GPS sticker or the imprint that's put on there to tell you that it is a GPS-enabled camera. You also have the function button on the camera as well. It gives you quick access to things like the ISO settings, white balance. You can reconfigure that yourself if you want. And if you look at now the back of the camera, of course, we got this nice 3-inch, very clear LCD screen that has a nice anti-reflective coating on it as well. It is a new high-resolution LCD, so it's very bright and it works well, especially in sunlight. There's an automatic feature that it notices shooting outdoors in bright sunlight, and it automatically boosts up the screen. Yeah. We have, of course, just like the previous models that replaced similar control layouts, we've got the display button, toggles through the different display modes on the LCD screen, whether it's the shooting mode, you can add the grid lines or take out the information display. You got the famous F button, which gives you quick access to the camera's, film settings in terms of the ISO settings.
So what type of film, black and white, color, Velvia.
And even the image size, or back in the days it would be the row of film, whether it's 24 exposures, 36 exposures.
Except now it's like 2,000 or 3,000 pictures.
That's right. But just above that, of course, we have the directional pad that has a rotating command dial that allows you to really adjust things like the aperture or shutter speed, because the camera does offer full manual control. We have, in between that command dial, we have the directional pad that can be used to navigate the menu systems on this camera, as well as give you quick access in the shooting mode to things like the different flash modes, the different self-timer features in terms of 2 seconds, 10 seconds, macro mode to get down to 10 to 6 centimeters, and of course the exposure compensation button to over or underexpose a scene. In playback, by pushing the playback button on this camera, you can also toggle the quick instant delete by pushing up on the directional pad as well. And just as a quick tip, I guess, if you don't want to turn the camera on and have the lens come out, you can just hold the playback button down for a few seconds and the camera will come on, so that you can just play back your images without the lens sticking out. I like having the fact that this camera still contains and has the instant video record button.
One-touch video record.
So it doesn't matter what mode you're on, you have an instant access to full HD video recording. There's also obviously a high-speed shooting mode as well, so you can shoot slow motion video with this camera. Just beside it, there's a little LCD screen, or LCD low light there, or LED light, sorry, that lights up. It just tells you that the camera's writing to the card, as well as the flash is being recharged as well, so it'll blink and whatnot. We got a little slant designed mode dial, and it makes it easier for ergonomics to hold and rotate.
Really nice.
And you can actually see the actual dial without looking at the top of the camera to see what mode you're shooting at. So you have the infamous EXR mode and all the other shooting modes, including advanced mode for things like 360 panoramic sweep. And again, that's just Greg, just a quick look around the brand new F770. Of course, like I mentioned, the 750 is the one that doesn't have the GPS.
Yeah, the F series have always been my kind of go-to pocket camera that I use, and I'm really anxious to try this one out. So, great. We've got other videos coming on the F750, 770, as well as our all other models, so best to subscribe to our
YouTube channel. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter if you want more information and questions.
We answer questions all the time. I should say Billy does all the time. And so next video, we'll see you until then. And I'm Greg.
And I'm Billy.
And we're the Fuji Guys.